my flour because I didn't know. Like I knew she had some, but I was like, oh.
You're welcome.
I just kind of am a freak about. I was just like, I'll just make sure I have all the materials.
Yeah, no.
So this is just flour.
So,
which water?
Heritage wheat. The silver. Or sorry, they're both silver. The little one. Yep, that one. I do a heritage wheat out of Minnesota. Is where I order my from.
Yeah, how are you guys?
She does
questions.
From.
Okay.
So.
Yay! Okay. So first.
So no, like almond flour.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
First, I put the jar on.
You want the.
Then you got to zero out, obviously, because it takes the math away.
There
Takes
are
the
ways
math
to do
away.
gluten-free, but
I'm
it's
just
a little
gonna-
bit different, yeah, with like rice flours and stuff.
So see how like
Oh,
jiggly it is?
yeah.
See all those little happy bubbles in there?
Oh, stretchy. It's good.
You guys can smell it too. You
Yeah, I
can
wanna
how
smell
the-
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh my, it smells like.
Really?
It's gonna have a little bit of a.
That's another fermented food.
Oh, wow. See, I would have thought I did something wrong. I wouldn't know.
Smells good.
I bet it
It does.
So I was just talking about Boudin's in San Francisco. It's a sourdough bakery
and then
in San
not using
Francisco,
it.
and their starter is like over
So I
100
need to
years
get
old.
past
Yeah.
Really?
Incredible. Yeah.
Here's these two if you use
That is
whatever.
incredible.
Yeah, it's delicious.
I
Sourdough
bet.
bread, It's
Okay.
so good. Yeah.
So this was about 13 grams, which is fine. So I'm just gonna feed
So
it.
then she put the cup on, you tear it so it zeroes out. She put it in, measured, then tore it so it zeroes out.
Yep.
So this
So
is
now-
the okay.
So this is.
I was thinking you could just do the flour and the water, but you need the starter.
You need the starter, and this.
Normally
Pretend
you
this is
do
like
it
this
in
is
the-
already your jar of starter, right?
Okay.
You already have the starter. You won't have to do this step at home. This is just the starter you had on the counter. Zero it out, and then I'm just gonna do. Actually, I'm probably just gonna do 25. And if you go over, it's okay. You just,
Just
if
make
you
it even.
fill it to 27, then just do 27 of water. And if you do 28 of water, it's okay. Just stir it in. Like, don't stress. I'm just gonna
I
do
my water first.
I know.
and then
I don't know why I have a habit of doing this,
Yeah.
but
So I'm gonna point out some of these things too, just so
Yes,
you guys
please
know that
do.
it's like
see now I did 10 over.
you
some.
don't have to like.
Make it
It's
even.
not
Yeah.
super precise. It's,
There's multiple ways and stuff. So if you add water first, it's okay.
Yeah, and so then I just like kind of get that water and get it, and then I just stir it around.
So how important is it that we're getting this exactly equal?
Not important.
Okay.
Well, you want
Important if you're gonna make bread. Like
Yeah.
if, like, you mean even like the water to flour ratio.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
You kind of want general. Like I said, about like Farmhouse on Boone, she does 1/4 of a cup and 1/4 of a cup. They don't weigh the same,
No.
but it will still work. The goal is to kind of get this like thick pancakey paste.
What it'll do if you
So you
if
can
you
kinda
feed
see
it
that
different,
texture.
it's gonna change the consistency of your starter. So right now, like
like
if you feed it
thick
1-to-1,
pancakes.
this is a 1-to-1, and you can like sub that out and put that into more recipes
Oh, wow.
and things like that. If you have more of like a 25, 75, it's just gonna change the consistency of your recipes. So, but if you, like she said, if you did 12 grams of flour and 13 grams of water, you're okay, because it's pretty much right there. If you did 12 grams of water and 24 grams of flour,
Might have an issue.
you
there.
might want to add a little bit more, like you might want to get it a little bit closer.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry, I missed this. So what exactly did you do with the scale here? So you put the starter and you measured, or you,
So I basically put it on,
okay,
and then I zeroed it out,
okay,
and that's when I added. When we had the starter already in there.
yeah,
So then I added 50 grams or 25 grams of flour,
okay.
zeroed it out,
And then
25 grams of water.
Okay. I have the
So you
same
don't
exact
have to
scale,
be
so-
careful about doing the exact same amount as the starter you have.
Correct.
Okay.
There are recipes that may have you do that, but what they do is, which I didn't talk about this, so thank you, is that you create a leaven. And what a leaven is essentially you're just making a baby of your sourdough starter.
Kinda
and
like
you're
you just
using
did.
that baby for that you'll use all of that baby in the recipe. And it's a way to like
have a precise
have
amount.
a more precise amount
Yeah.
because and that's typically in more of your artisan loaves because we'll talk about that a little bit with bread making, but it's very technical when you get into some of those because there's things like high hydration loaves, which are going to create more of a moist, airy, and then there's more dense loaves, especially if you get into more of that einkorn flour, those ancient grains. They're going to create a more of a denser loaf. When you start adding in things, you know, they have moisture. You know, if you're adding in olives or peppers, that has moisture, so it might have you know, so there's different factors. It sounds technical, but like I said, those people that made the recipes did the work for you. Yeah. So they'll just have you make 11 instead of trying to teach you all of that.
And 11 is like a baby starter.
11 is just
measured.
a baby starter. Okay. And then, so for example, if this was 11, we just took it out of our sourdough, we followed the recipe, we set it on the counter, it becomes active, and they'll have you use that whole jar, and then you'll wash that, and you'll never have, you know, then the baby's gone.
Yep.
So anytime you use 11, you're gonna use it all for the recipe.
Okay.
I'm gonna drop it on your floor.
You can drop it in this jar if you want to soak it. This is my starter. Alright. It's time for a new one.
Abby, I think you can just end it and then we start a new one and
It was
yeah.
So, does anybody have any questions up until now about all of that? I know I keep asking that, but
So I have a question now. So like you let that sit overnight, it will double.
this will, yeah. So see how it's about right here? It's probably gonna go up to about here today.
If it sits on the counter.
Yep.
Okay.
Some people put rubber bands or use a little dry erase to kind of mark to see, but like you'll know. I mean, you'll see. So the other thing you can do to know is my starter ready is do what's called a float test. So you just take some water, you take a little bit out, and if this floats, it's ready to be used. And it's gonna float nice and happily.
Wow.
And so that's another way you'll know it's ready to be used in a recipe.
Wow.
Otherwise, like if it's a discard, it'll sink to the bottom right away.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Discard is different.
So will recipes call for a certain amount of starter then?
Yep. And every recipe will tell you how much.
Okay.
You know, I'm trying to think. And I can show you too when we're just kind of chatting. I can point out different recipes too, of like what they kind of will have you use. Yeah. So, you guys want to move on to a little bread baking?
Yeah.
Okay.